According to this year's point-in-time count, children without shelter accounted for roughly a third of the total increase in homelessness in Multnomah County. They are an invisible community, though, and that's often on purpose. Parents keep their campsites hidden deep in the woods, and they're always on the move. Blair Best found one homeless family willing to talk on camera, but they did not want to show their faces, afraid the state would take away the children.
Hiding in plain sight, a survival tactic this single mom has honed throughout her time on the street.
We were in and out of shelters for a while. I lived at a DV shelter for more than a year, and there was drug use in the shelter. We were surrounded by it.
So she and her 2 young children moved to the only place she felt safe, a tent deep in the woods in Gresham.
We found a spot in the woods. We stayed safe. We had our dogs. People weren't allowed to come mess with us.
They also camped under the Hawthorne Bridge.
And you'd see some tweaker walk by, and all of a sudden it was tent time. That's what we did it. It was clap, clap, tent time. And if they heard that around the camp, they ran to the tents.
A hypervigilance these kids learned early on, and they lived like this for about a year, homeschooled, outside, and away from the structures of society.
Hello? Hello?
Perhaps one of the reasons our camera equipment was so exciting.
I'm 10 years old. I honestly thought it was really nice because, so we lived in a little wooded area away from all the drug addicts, and we always got to run around. I used to play my little imagination games off my own little world. It was really fun.
I was teaching them to read and write on my own, but now they're in public school and they're absolutely loving it, but they feel a little bit like they're outcasts. They're outside kids, that's what they call themselves.
Currently, these outside kids live in affordable housing, but say the complex is unsafe.
I'm surrounded by drug dealers and drug addicts, and there's no peace.
They're preparing to move back outdoors.
If it weren't for the fact that it was a roof over my head, I would rather be outside.
The color palette is that of the ocean.
Brandy Tuck runs Path Home in Southeast Portland, one of 3 homeless shelters for families in Multnomah County. Here, they focus on bringing the outside in.
Some of the features of trauma-informed design and architecture include a real connection to nature. So it's about real plants, indoors and outdoors, natural material, natural light. When you drive around Portland and you see all these tent villages and RVs everywhere, you don't realize that there are thousands of kids and their parents without homes too. They're the invisible homeless population that hide for fear of something happening to their kids or the state taking their kids away.
Right now, there are 800 homeless families with children on housing waitlists in Multnomah County. Last year, Path Home served 1,800 people. More than half were children, a majority under the age of 5.
The children that experience homelessness today can turn into the chronically homeless adults of the future. And so unless we do something now to help these kids, we'll never be able to solve the issue of homelessness in Portland.
A crisis this single mom has been stranded in for years, unable to find a safe way out.
Portland they care, but something here is going wrong. Taking my kids from me and putting them in foster care is not what's going to keep them safe. Putting us in shelter situations where we can't regulate the people who are around us, that's not going to keep us safe.
So Blair's joined me now, and my gosh, what a heartbreaking story for any parent or grandparent to see something like that. And 800 families.
Yeah, 800 families are currently on the wait list for family shelter in Multnomah County, and that means way more children than that, right? Because many families have more than one child.
How'd you find this family?
Yeah, so it was a bit of a scavenger hunt, and it was pretty challenging, which I think speaks to the importance of this story. This is truly the invisible homeless population. Yeah. And in part, that's why there's a lack of resources for them. So anyways, we got some tips that there was homeless families camping out on the Springwater Crossing Trail in Southeast.
Corridor, yep.
The corridor, yeah. And we hiked that trail for about 5.5 hours looking for families. We talked with neighbors who didn't want to go on camera but told us they hear babies crying at night in the woods that are camping off this trail. I mean, we hiked in the woods, we found so many tent sites, but no one was there, or they were hiding inside, I'm not sure. And it wasn't until we were heading back to the station, we ended up going through an area of North Portland, and we saw a family leaving a grocery store and happened to be homeless, and they were willing to talk with us on camera and share their story.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just think about the reality of those little kids.
Yeah.
And how different that is from most of the kids growing up in our area.
Right, and it was kind of interesting talking with them because as you and I talking to them, you know, we're like, wow, right? We feel bad for them or sad or a myriad of different emotions. But when you're talking to them, they were excited and they were like, we love camping outside. It's fun for us.
Yeah.
So it was a really interesting experience for me to do that interview because it was a mix of emotions of how I was supposed to be feeling in the moment.
Yeah, yeah. And now the mom's most likely taking the kids back out of the shelter because she thinks it's safer to be on the spring water or somewhere around it.
Yeah, I mean, she talked of getting assaulted at their apartment complex and having drug dealers outside. And she says it's safer for her to live with her children in the woods than it is in affordable housing. And that's just, I don't know, that speaks to a bigger issue, right? She says taking her kids away from her and putting them in foster care isn't going to keep them safe. And neither is this affordable housing complex.
Yeah, which is outrageous.
Yeah.
But
and she's been homeless for years, right? So all she knows, her comfort, is outside in a tent.
yeah, wow. Well, thanks for bringing us that story,
Yeah.
even though it makes me furious.